Hi guys, my name is Andres from Geeks of Color. It's a
Hello,
pleasure to meet you both.
how
Hi,
are you? Thank you
Good,
for
good to see.
having us.
Absolutely good to see you guys, Carlos and Rodolfo. First off, I'm gonna start with you, Rodo. First question I have to ask for you is going from producer to director to co-screenwriter. What is this process like when it comes to having these overlapping filmmaker jobs, but now going from one to another? Do you feel like they work better in these distinct factions, or can they overlap and have they always overlapped?
For me, it's always, whatever is needed to make a movie happen and to make the best uh, possible version of that movie. I really don't care whether I'm sitting at the director's chair, writing, producing. The unique thing about what we do is that both Fede and I work together really closely. So the lines are blurry. He is guiding the ship. He's has the vision. He's the captain of the ship, and I'm just helping him reach the destination in the best way possible, right? So whether that's as a director, producer, writer, or doing everything at the same time, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. What I'm all for making the best movies possible, and making an alien movie. I would jump into this, even if I have to whatever, just sweep the floor, whatever. I'll do it. I'll be in this movie and I'll help make this movie the best movie possible.
For sure. Now, Carlos, for you, the question I have is what was your process like when it comes to creating these costumes and making sure you're doing it, making sure you have the process when it comes to making it between alien and aliens and finding that right balance?
Well, I've already designed costumes for projects that are based on books or other movies or other TV shows, and I usually don't like to take those as references. I think for me, I knew that Fede is a visionary and he has a very specific vision. So my work is to support him, So I try to actually erase everything around me and just focus on what he wants. That's my intention. And so we started talking about this project since we didn't know who the cast was until about 2 or 3 weeks before shooting. We started designing the colony and all the different elements, for all the different groups, the farmers, the miners. I did a lot of research that I presented to Fede. And so he guided me throughout that process. And once we had all those vintage pieces that I found a little bit everywhere in the world, we ended up designing the costumes for the lead characters. And one of the things that I want to say also is that one of the first things that Fede asked me to do is to contact Reebok, because Reebok has designed all the sneakers for Replay in all the initial movies. And so that was one of the best parts of this project, was actually to work with them and design sneakers for actually Rain that were in alignment with the ones that were already designed for Replay.
That's amazing. That's really cool. Now, Rolo, I want to jump back to you. Working in this industry, you've been working with Fetty for years, and obviously you have this Uruguay connection. And now we're seeing a lot more of Latino horror directors and Latino support within the industry. What's it like seeing this immense growth when it comes to not just Latino filmmakers in horror, but just Latino filmmakers in general supporting one another and being put into these major franchises?
Well, I think what filmmakers, what you do as a filmmaker is you bring your point of view on something, on the world, the unique way in which you see the world around you, right? That's what you bring, your perspective. So it's great that Hollywood is curious about different perspectives from different part of the world, because we see the world in a different way, right? Therefore, we tell stories that there's a lot of similarities, but there's always a different angle, right? uh, and that is refreshing. It makes everything better, and I'm glad that it's happening. It was overdue, and I think it makes everything. It makes filmmaking richer, right? And I hope it's not just Latinos. I mean, I hope it's just these filmmakers from all over the world that get the chance to make movies like this. And I think it's happening, and it will continue to happen because it just makes things better.
Absolutely. Now, last thing for you, Carlos, I wanted to ask, I always hear the note when it comes to lived in and realistic and grounded, but I wanted to know, what does that process actually entail when it comes to making those terms come to life in this costume design and making it from the concept art to the fabrication process? What is lived in and grounded actually look like within those costumes?
Well, I think to me, the most important thing for this project specifically was the fact that the colony was falling apart. And so all the costumes that we designed for the colony were all overdyed, broken down, aged, and very realistic too. Actually, I remember when we shot those big scenes with those hundreds of backgrounds, I remember Fede walking around and just telling us how realistic everything felt. We had homeless people dressed, and they were so realistic that Fede couldn't understand if they were actually people there in Budapest, or there were actually people that we dressed. So that really is the most important thing, the textile work. And that's the reason why I chose very specific fabrics for the costumes of our lead characters, because it was all about aging them, over dyeing them, breaking them down, just so we really have the impression that throughout their storyline and throughout their emotional arc on the project, the costume reflected the fact that that colony was falling apart, that their past was falling apart, and that they're actually hoping for a better future. And that's kind of a little bit the thread between the entire project, right? And so I wanted the costumes to actually reflect that emotional intention.
Absolutely. Carlos and Rodo, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. Everything you guys have done so far looks absolutely amazing. So I can't wait to see the final product with Alien Romulus. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good one, guys.
Impact event in 5, 4,